The National Bank Open is well underway, and it's been a wild week thus far, from both world number ones being ousted early to an incredibly emotional farewell to the game's greatest. Of course, I'm talking about Serena Williams, who will be retiring, or should I say, evolving from tennis after the 2022 US Open. Serena announced the news on Tuesday, where she told Vogue magazine that her decision to step away from the sport was, quote, the hardest thing that she'd ever could imagine. I plan on breaking down that Vogue article much more extensively in a later video soon, and I would have done it earlier, but I just could not bring myself to do it. This evolution news hurt. It hurt me bad. Serena's been a big part of my life and childhood really the past decade. I just needed a little bit more time to process than I expected. Anyways, focusing on the tennis, Serena played her final match in Toronto against Belinda Bencic, who ended up winning 6-2, 6-4. The score seems lopsided, and while it accurately represents the match, Serena could have made this a lot closer. Williams was heavily involved in nearly all of Bencic's service games in the opening set, but couldn't get early leads, which made all the difference in the end. Bencic was clutch at those 40-all and game point moments. Serena struggled quite a bit on her serve in the opening set and won just 1 point on her second serve. She also just wasn't hitting her shots as well as she could have on first serve, and Bencic took full advantage, reeling off a couple of return winners. Against her, you've got to either place the serve really well or jam her good in the body. Belinda is also notorious for attacking opponents' second serves, and she ate Serena's up, especially in the first set. Now in the second set, Serena served much better. She went up and after it a lot more on both the first and second serves. It paid off well as she won 81% of first serve points and 56% of second. Serena did have a mid-subpar service game in the middle of the second set, which ultimately costed her the match. The 40-year-old just could not make any type of dent in Belinda's service games as she returned horrendously. Serena's return positioning is to blame here, as she simply stood too close to the baseline and robbed herself of time. Bencic hit basically all of her serve slides to the forehand, and Serena didn't cover it or back up and give her a different look. It was so frustrating to see Belinda just win easy points off her serve when Serena is this good of a returner. I do have to give credit where credit is due. Bencic did serve well this match, but I guarantee you, had Serena done like how she did at the 2021 Australian Open and backed up to give herself more time, she would have broken at least once. Bencic was throwing in quite a few double faults at times, and Serena could have broken that serve down had she done better with attacking second serves. Belinda lost just 1 point on serve in the second set, which is simply unacceptable. Eric, Jameer, Alexis, Jill, all of Team Serena, I want this fixed by the time Cincinnati rolls around. In terms of the ground game, Serena was solid, but Bencic was simply too good and took the ball incredibly early to take time away from Williams. That's incredibly difficult to combat, especially when you haven't played a bunch of tennis. Movement too was a bit of a factor, as Serena looked half a step slower out there. Some of that is due to age and wear and tear, as of course she injured herself at Wimbledon last year, and I feel like that still is rearing its head. And then also, I feel like those vapor shoes that she's been wearing are holding her back and are restricting her mobility and explosiveness. Anyways, enough of this match. I thought the little send-off by the tournament was really nice, and my eyes were definitely getting a little bit watery, I'm not gonna lie. They did mess up a little bit by forgetting that she's a Jehovah's Witness and doesn't celebrate birthdays, but regardless, it was nice to see her get her flowers, literally, as a 3-time champ of this event. I honestly hope that we don't have anything like this at Cincinnati, because that was rough. I only want to be in my fields in New York when it's all said and done. Now, contrary to popular belief, I believe Serena has the game to do damage and go deep at New York. First of all, her opposition isn't all that formidable, with Swiatek seemingly out of form and her pitcher Osaka unfortunately dealing with a back injury. Also, that wasn't a bad performance against Bencic. It's actually better than some of what we saw in 2018, where she made 2 slam finals. Belinda is simply a very tough opponent and is honestly playing top 5 tennis at the moment. She just crushed Garbiñe Muguruza 6-1, 6-3 and is playing much better than even the world number 1 lately. Speaking of which, Iga Swiatek was sent packing in round 3, losing to Beatriz Haddad Maia 6-4, 3-6, 7-5. I'm gonna be frank. That was a terrible, 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 terrible match from Iga. It is probably the worst I've seen her play ever. I have to give her some grace because the wind was pretty bad today and definitely impacted her strokes. Her balance and footwork was just not right from the beginning, and she wasn't fully following through on that forehand like we've seen from her all this season. She made a lot of forehand unforced errors, and some of the misses were truly shocking. Swiatek's backhand was so-so from the ground, but on return it was piss poor. Beatrice's lefty slice definitely caused the Polish woman some fits there. Swiatek's first serve was pretty effective, but the second serve was notably weaker, and Haddad Maia took advantage, attacking and applying pressure whenever possible. Swiatek managed to win just 43% of second serve points this entire match. Iga honestly just doesn't seem to be herself. She doesn't look confident, and she seems to be back to her pushing ways of not fully committing to her shots and going for them. Swiatek, when she was on that streak, was just absolutely ruthless and didn't allow her opponents hardly any breathing room. If they hit a ball remotely short, the point was over. She just seems to be missing that pizzazz, that conviction, and unfortunately for her, that's why her opponents are able to hang in there more during these baseline exchanges. Much of the issue, I feel, is that she no longer has the magic of the streak. She literally did not know how to lose, and it was almost instinctual for her to be out there crushing her opponents and winning everything. Now she's 3-3 for her last 6 matches, and that fear factor has definitely faded. It will be interesting to see if she can regain her form for Cincinnati and New York, because this could still be chalked up to be a bad day at the office. Cincy and New York City, I feel, will give us the real insight. The Toronto draw is pretty wide open in the top half, which is interesting because when the draw came out, this seemed to be the stronger half, with Iga, Serena, Naomi, etc. all there. Between Haddad Maia and Bencic, I'm going to go with the Swiss woman because she seems to be the best player in this tournament thus far. Karolina Pliskova has looked pretty solid though, too, and recently picked up a solid 3-set win over Maria Sakkari. Chinese woman Chen Wenjing is continuing her ascension after notching a hard-fought 3-hour win over Bianca Andreescu. Looking down at the bottom half, Jessica Pegula outlasted defending champ Camila Giorgi for a spot in her third 1000 quarterfinal of the year. She'll have a pretty good shot at reaching her third semifinal, next getting unseeded Yulia Putintseva. The most interesting quarters matchup, in my opinion, is between Simona Halep and Coco Gauff, who will meet for a 4th time. Coco's never beaten Halep and has actually never even won a set against her, so she'll definitely need to bring it if she wants to change that trend. Gauff has had a much tougher road to the quarterfinals than Simo, playing back-to-back 3-hour blockbusters against Elena Rybakina, followed by Aryna Sabalenka. Gauff showed incredible grit, winning both these matches 7-6 in the third. However, she did choke a bit during both and honestly should have taken them in straight sets. Double faults have been Gauff's kryptonite as she hit 28 combined in her previous 2 matches. The double fault total with Sabalenka was 33 combined, as Aryna is the queen of double faults as she hit 18 against Coco. Halep is going to be a big favorite in this match for me, but maybe Coach Diego and Papa Gauff will have a good game plan that'll clinch the W. Moving over to the men's side, we are extremely likely to have a new first-time Masters 1000 champion. Hubie Hurkacz is the only 1000 champ remaining, and he faces red-hot Nick Kyrgios next. Kyrgios is coming off a title in DC, so when the draw came out, I honestly expected him to lose to Daniil Medvedev in round 2. Surprisingly to me, Nick has upped the ante, coming back from behind to oust the world number 1 before crushing compatriot Alex de Minaur to make the quarterfinals. Hubie did actually beat Nick a month ago in Halle, but the Polishman isn't playing at that same level, so I have Kyrgios moving through there. Moving down, Felix Auger-Aliassime is looking very impressive, recently beating Cam Norrie for his first National Bank Open last 8 appearance. He'll next face 4th seed Casper Ruud, who's the highest ranked player remaining. In the bottom half, there are 0 seeds remaining. Pablo Carreño Busta dominated Jannik Sinner, and next gets young Brit Jack Draper, who progressed after Gael Monfils hurt his foot during the second set of their match. Meanwhile, Tommy Paul backed up his big win over Alcaraz with a dominant 4-2 rout over Cilic. He now meets Dan Evans, who denied an All-American matchup after outlasting Taylor Fritz. That's all I have for y'all in this video, and let me know in the comments what you think about Serena's match and farewell, and whether you're just as delusional as I am about her New York prospects. Also, do you think Swiatek's exit is cause for concern? Make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post more Canada updates and Serena related content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.